Hi guys, welcome to Trip Around the Multiverse. Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, Heart. I am CY Chung with my co-host.
Voltron, Kyle Charles.
Wait, Voltron doesn't have a power up thing with Jig?
I don't remember. Actually,
Okay,
no.
by the power-
I am Mastodon, Pterodactyl,
yeah.
Triceratops, Saber-toothed Tiger, Tyrannosaurus, the Megazord from the original Power Rangers.
For some reason, I had in my head that you were going to do that just to tag on for some reason.
I know.
I was like, do my intro, and then I was like, yeah, he's probably going to follow. Oh, I hope he follows up with Power Rangers. But yeah, no, this episode nothing to do with those two.
No, not.
We're just having a look at what is mainstream comic book stuff that's happening now,
Yep.
and just thinking back to when we started collecting, how things are different.
Yeah,
So
lots of things.
I don't know. I'll just start, but I don't know when view. You know, Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
Now that we have, it was traditionally known to be the Savage Hulk,
yeah,
as they call him, right? And now we've got Professor Hulk. Back when I first had to look at Hulk, he was the Professor Hulk. Was that the same for you?
yeah. Because that's about like '94, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
So I was like, did you ever think it was a permanent change to Professor Hulk?
Well, as a kid, I did. I was like, okay,
Oh,
cool.
really?
Not knowing that,
Yeah.
comics just flip flop, do whatever they want, go
Yeah.
back to the status quo or not. I was like, okay, cool. That's a pretty good, like, thing. Being a
Had
kid.
you known about Savage Hulk prior to that?
Yeah, like, because of like my dad's old comics, I knew like the Hulk was just a nutcase guy. But
I tell you what, it's weird as well when you look at that far back. Savage Hulk wasn't truly Savage Hulk. He was more like the Thing, gruff
Yeah.
uncle style
yeah,
speech pattern, and then he became Savage Hulk. But so you collected when, like I did, when Peter David was writing it, and he was, I don't want to say intergalactic Bruce Banner Hulk, but he was Professor Hulk, Smart Hulk, and then when he got overly agitated, he turned into Banner Smash.
yeah,
I thought it was now think about it, it's a quite a nice, cool, refreshing change because they have to alter certain things here and there.
yeah. They have to.
It might be much bigger thing as was the Professor Hulk in the comics now because in the MCU because stuff has gone more, I want to say mainstream, but back then because it wasn't so well known, you can make more bigger changes,
Yeah,
and the audience didn't have the internet to call you out and stuff like that. Did you ever read the follow up to? Okay, did you know how he got to Professor Hulk in the first place?
no, I don't. I just remember picking up a book. I was like, oh, he's wearing jeans and a white T-shirt, and him and
Yeah.
Betty are cool now. So that's like, okay, cool. I just
So they had the backstory for that. I mean, this is stuff you find out later, but the backstory to that is obviously he's having mental issues. You know about the Savage Hulk. You know about
Yeah.
Joe Fixit.
yeah,
Joe Fixit Hulk, which is like his. So Savage Hulk is like his childlike mind, where
Yeah.
he just wanted to be left alone
yeah.
because I think his dad.
Yeah, it's the abuse
Was-
whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And he thought his son was a mutant. He was so dad was alcoholic and he was janitorial, some such.
yeah.
Right.
Very
Then when he's like, when your kid is intuitively, mentally able so quickly, you'd be like, no, something's wrong with he's like, he must be a mutant. There's something wrong with him. Then he started beating the kid and beating his mum.
yeah,
So that's where the childlike Savage Hulk comes from. Just want to be left alone.
yeah. Okay.
Joe Fix is more like his adolescence years, so he's a bit more cunning.
yeah,
You can see the persona. And Professor Hulk obviously is initially Banner was having a therapy session.
yeah. Oh, with Doc
Where-
Samson,
where all
isn't it?
Yeah, with and there's all his personalities were on the table. Those two personalities were on the table trying to come in with Banner to one cohesive whole.
Yeah,
And when they resolved those issues, that's when the Professor Hulk was I want to say created because at the point he was supposed to be Banner with the body of the Hulk. Later on,
yeah,
Paul Jenkins readjusted it that that Hulk was just another one of his personas.
Okay. Yeah.
Because first of all, and he took this logically, he suddenly made that persona left-handed,
Oh.
but he also was like Bruce Banner, nebbish and mousy, and a bit kind of, I don't want to say paranoid, but you know, that kind of skittish persona.
Yeah.
How do you get super confident to be able to be Professor Hulk? You know?
Yeah.
So I think that was a good retcon where he's just like, you know what? This seems out of tune with how Banner actually is.
Yeah.
He must be he must be just another manifestation of the personalities of Banner. I was like, okay, I buy that.
Yeah, that's viable. It's not silly.
Yeah. Okay, so did you ever collect Thor?
No, literally, I didn't start reading Thor till like 2011. I didn't care for him at that point.
Okay, yeah. So, did you know about the origins of Thor?
Yeah, I knew about
Right, that's what I'm going for.
when, because at first, wasn't it right? He was a god.
Oh no.
That's when he. Oh, gone.
It was and it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
It used to be a dude that just found the.
That's it. The hammer.
The
The hammer. Then it transformed into Thor, and then he uses it as a walking stick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then later on, it turned out Donald Blake was actually Thor, who Odin wiped the mind off to teach him humility. Right?
When you think that makes no sense, but go on.
Yeah. So they couldn't write in all the Asgardians and stuff.
Yeah.
When I first picked up Thor, Eric Masterson was Thor.
That's around the same time as like Professor Hulk and all that, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was a decent change. I was like, because I always, when you pick up the history of the Marvel Universe, some dude, Donald Blake, picked up Thor's hammer and he transformed with the power of Thor. So when Eric Masterson did it, the exact same way, you're like, okay, it's just a continuation of that story.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen all the backstory behind that, where he is an actual Asgardian and stuff like that, aside from when you're picking it up. And you're like, okay, this seems to be, for me, probably a temporary change, because they always switch back to pieces of actual Asgardian Thor doing whatever he is on Asgard.
Yeah.
So it's like, at some point, he must take the mantle back. But, that'd have been a bit wacky nowadays if Thor is Thor, right? No, Donald Blake doesn't exist.
No.
In comparatively to what we've seen in media. Thor's always been an Asgardian god.
Yeah.
Right? So if there was this big change now, unless he passed off the hammer to Eric Masterson, I think people would be like, huh?
Because they kind of like make sense of it slightly. You know, I'll say about 3 years ago when I'll say Betty Ross, when Jane Foster became Thor.
Yeah.
It kind of worked because Thor was still Thor.
Yeah.
But he just couldn't lift the hammer.
Yeah,
and he became Odinson. And she just, whenever she said, I don't know what the magic keyword is, and she got like the power of Thor, it made sense because, okay, she's got the power of the lightning and, strength, but she's not Odinson Thor, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of made sense of like the whole thing.
So did you ever collect the series called the Thor Cause?
Yeah. I flipped through. I never read it. I was like, this makes no sense.
So it had Better Ray Bill, Eric Masterson, and Drago, something.
Yeah.
Aitor, I think. Kartor.
Yeah.
And he was a Thor from the future. Like he was a dude who picked up the hammer from the future.
Yeah.
And he came back. So when like saying, because of all these characters that just pick up the hammer and have the power of Thor.
Yeah.
To be logically is like, yep, this is acceptable to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say nowadays, Thor's always been Asgardian.
Yeah.
You know, so
he's always been Asgardian. He's lived forever.
Yeah.
He's always come back.
Yeah. But yeah, so it wasn't so striking to me. I mean, like anything else, like any other stuff that from your end,
yeah,
that was strikingly different
Like,
and what was going on, you would I would say in mainstream at the time, or comparatively now.
it's sort of I've touched on a few. I'll touch on a few now. Like, I've always known who the X-Men are, the core members of the X-Men and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like when I started proper reading them when I was like say 8 or 9, so this is about 94, 95. It wasn't the X-Men I knew.
Were you saying that you knew the X-Men from the animated TV series?
No, but like them as well. Actually, I think it might be a bit slightly earlier. Or okay, no, over here. Remember, they were like a couple of years behind in storylines and stuff in the like X-Men Essential and that stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
When I was picking up, this is when X Factor were about. So I was reading X-Men. I was like, okay, I don't see Cyclops. I don't see Jean. I don't see blah blah blah. I see Wolverine. Who is Psylocke and all this? So you know what I mean? It was that weird period. I was like, oh okay.
Yeah.
I'm so confused, but I like these guys, but. Who are they?
What was the storyline that was going on around that time?
I think this was the Outback storyline where the X-Men like Wolverine, Psylocke, Havoc, Colossus were all were dead, but they was living in the outback of Australia. And
just imagine. I was gonna say, if you collected around Executioner song era, or even worse, man, imagine if you started collecting during the Age of Apocalypse era.
Yeah,
that would have been nutty.
I'll get to that because that sort of happened as well. Because I got confused by all this. So
That's the whole point of this conversation. But go on.
I stopped reading X-Men for a bit after that. Yeah. And then I jumped back on during that, and I was like, I have even more clue. I have no idea what's going on. Why is Wolverine got one hand and Cyclops got one eye, and they're not on the same team, and Magneto's the leader? What is this? My brain hurts.
So the actual basics of the storyline is Professor X's son Legion went back in time and tried to kill Magneto, so Magneto would never exist.
Yeah, and mutants will have a better life, apparently.
Yeah, but Xavier jumped in the way, so Legion wiped himself out of existence.
Yeah.
And because of that, Apocalypse also rose early.
Yeah. And he took over North America.
And Magneto's like, for Xavier, I will create the X-Men in his memory.
Dream. Yeah.
Now, to be fair to that, right? At least it had Age of Apocalypse Alpha and Omega.
Yeah. So you saw
it readjusted all the tiles for like 3 months, I think.
No, it was longer than that.
Was it longer than that?
Like Age of Apocalypse went on for like a year.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No.
Every X-Men tile at the time was renamed. Like,
I didn't realize they went on for a year.
Yeah, went for a year.
Okay.
So yeah, and each of those titles focused on a separate team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went on for ages.
Yeah. Well, look. I actually thought the idea behind Age of Apocalypse was pretty decent.
Yeah, it was smart.
Sorry?
It was a really smart idea. In hindsight now,
marketing
really
as well. It's good marketing idea as well. Just change all the titles. Like X Factor was Factor X. You had Astonishing X-Men, and all these other readjusted tiles.
I think it was Gambit and the Extremes or External.
Yeah. And what they called it, Generation Next instead of Generation X.
Yeah.
And it was like old characters and unfamiliar personas.
Yeah, because like instead of Colossus being like the gentle giant, he was like a psychopath. Well, I wouldn't say psychopath, but he was a dick.
Yeah. I like I didn't collect it all, but I like the idea behind it, and it was like it was Magneto taking down Apocalypse at the end, and it used X-Man, who was the Gene spliced version of Cable.
Yeah, the test tube baby version of Cable.
Yeah. And I mean, Magneto had the final victory over Apocalypse, but it wasn't like he just suddenly decided to take Apocalypse apart or whatever. It was like it went through a good couple of fights to get to that point.
There's lots of
Apocalypse
twists
was
and
a massive,
turns.
yeah.
People
Apocalypse,
turning on each other. Yeah.
yeah, huge threat. Apocalypse was.
Yeah. Still, well, it is. I don't
Yeah.
know if he's a thing anymore at this point.
Yeah. But it might have been like you say, if you start collecting at that period, it might have been like really wacky. Especially since that's why I always thought that at the end of the X-Men movie Apocalypse,
Yeah.
Magneto will be the one that split it, like tear Apocalypse in half.
Yeah.
That's all because he's a bit more vicious than all the other people there.
Yeah, he's a murderer.
Yeah, but it's just like, you know what, if this guy's going to be a threat to everyone, I'm going to take him out.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say the X-Men are more passive, but they just wouldn't necessarily go to that extreme.
Yeah.
But you say about X-Men, right? And Apocalypse being a bit of a collecting nightmare.
Yeah.
Man, you at least that story had a beginning and end. Now, if you started collecting a Spider-Man in the middle of Clone Saga, which
I tried as well, but
oh man, like 4 tiles: the Web of Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Actual Spider-Man. Oh no, the title was Spider-Man. I'm just gonna distinguish it by calling it Actual Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And you had to collect every single one of those to get the entire story of what's going on. And then eventually, I think they split Web of Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man for Scarlet Spider.
Okay.
But then they still had stories that were running through each other as well, every other month or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. I was like, what? And this thing would never end because it didn't have a conclusive end point.
See,
like, where is it going? And then it wouldn't go anywhere.
Nah, and then when it did end, when the whole Ben Reilly's being Spider-Man, like, if you jump into the comics then, you're like, oh, so my whole life up to this point, I knew Spider-Man as Peter Parker. Who's this blonde guy? Oh, he's a clone of Peter Parker.
Why is he blonde?
Yeah.
And why is he working in a coffee shop and not a newspaper?
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, this is completely weird.
And why does he call himself Ben Reilly? What happened to Mary Jane?
Mm-hmm. Like, it's so many questions. You'd be like, This is why I think some people find it hard. Like, at that point, I reckon I'd been like half the people to like get into comics, because just not in Marvel and DC, so many things was like changed at that time. Yeah. Like, John.
To be fair, there was certain. I don't know if you ever read it, but there was there were highlights to the Clone Saga. I did like the storyline where Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider, had a fight with Venom.
Didn't know that happened.
Oh yeah, he had the fight with Venom. He actually defeated Venom, because it just showed when your Spider-Man sense is not disabled by the symbiote. Yeah, you can do stuff. You know, you are able to take, and plus he didn't have a fear of Venom like Spider-Man did as well.
Yeah, because they're back. So much history they had. Yeah, Ben Reilly's like, I don't know who he was, so why am I scared of you?
Yeah, not only that. I mean, obviously he did get scarred and beaten up. Yeah. But then he created his impact webbing and his stingers and stuff like that to come back for a second round. It's like, okay, this is good to get Ben Reilly over as his own character. Yeah. And he's capable. Did you collect? You when you started collecting Spider-Man, was he married at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever read this when he was single?
No, that was way before my time. Because didn't he get married in like the late 80s, early 90s, isn't it? Yeah. 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 So I'd only ever known the character when he was married. Yeah. So it's gonna be really tricky for people that like the new collectors collecting now that he's single. Yeah. Then they go back and he's married, but then even back before that he's single. Yeah. And then you're gonna find out why he got. Yeah, it's not like they got divorced either. It was like that. If it was like, okay, cool, divorce, that happens. Like, you know. Yeah, Mockingbird and Hawkeye. If only it was divorced, that would have been just much more easier to digest. Yeah. Yeah. Rather than magic. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Or the devil, even, but whatever, you know. Yeah. So that was that. What about the DC stuff? DC stuff. Yeah. So. Was you collected Green Lantern and the Flash, right? No, I collected. Well, I didn't collect the Flash. I knew about the Flash, but lucky for me, the only Flash I knew was Wally West. So when I picked up the Flash, I wasn't like, oh, okay, this isn't Barry Allen. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I know this guy somehow. I don't know why I knew who, like, he was the Flash.
Yeah.
Because I think I did watch the TV show. Even when I watched the TV show, I was like, oh, who's this Barry Allen guy? Did they make him up?
Yeah,
I didn't have no content.
See, that's the thing, isn't it? When okay, now we've seen Barry Allen even in the 90s TV show, but now 2014 Flash, and even in Justice League.
Yeah.
Where you kind of need the Barry Allen backstory to get to Wally West.
Yeah.
Whereas in the comics, you kind of accept it as you were at the time you were collecting it.
Yeah.
So when Wally West was the Flash and he references Barry, you just assume that there was a dude that was the Flash before this guy, but we don't need to know any more details.
I just assumed it was like a teacher. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't assume he was the Flash. But yeah.
Yeah, it was. But if you were to introduce Wally in a TV show or movie now, you'd have to have Barry first.
Yeah,
kind of.
Or somehow have reference to Barry to make you think, oh, okay, he was somewhat important to this guy.
Or you do how Justice League animated TV series did, and you just don't reference Barry.
Yeah, well, they do like random hints to Barry, but like, because in one episode you go, oh, my Uncle Barry's coming in from town. It's like, okay, cool. So it's like random things like that. So
no. Are you think Justice League Bruce Timm animated universe?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I didn't catch those bits.
Yeah. There's little references to Barry or like sprinkled around it.
But I just thought they never used Barry simply because they were like, Wally West is currently the Flash in the comics and be a bit convoluted to build up to the point where he dies.
Yeah.
And then put Wally West in, unless you're on the adventure that you're starting it often, he dies and Wally then takes the mantle, but then you kind of like be a bit awkward, you know?
Yeah. Because like it's if you handle it right, you can sort of get around it.
Yeah.
But if you establish like, oh yeah, it's been heroes in this universe for many years, so there's been many different interpretations of them. So go forth to what you want, which I think they kind of did in Justice League cartoon, because obviously that came off the back of Superman and Batman, which already have like a history to it there, because even they touch on weird things from the past, so you can sort of buy if they said, oh yeah, there was a Flash before Wally West.
But okay, in that instance though, there wasn't a whole new character who was that particular superhero at that time.
Yeah.
Whereas, for that, for Flash, it's like a whole new character.
Yeah.
It's similar with Green Lantern. We'll get to that, but Batman's always been Batman.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, they bring in Jean-Paul Valley, and then you got to explain why. But that's too messy as well. I don't think they're going to go to that and to do that.
I think because the Flash appears in. Oh no! They do make reference when a Flash appears in Superman, the animated series. Yeah, it's Barry Allen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they skip over and it's Wally West.
Yeah.
Okay. I think they did the same for Green Lantern though. I think
because he's Carl Reiner, and then in Justice League, Justice League the series, and that he's Jon Stewart. But then Carl Reiner comes back in one of the Justice League Unlimited episodes, and he goes, "Oh, I wish I could go back to Earth." He's like, "Well, I don't." And also they have the whole Hal Jordan thing as well. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? So they kind of. Yeah, that's why it gets a bit tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
So who do you choose? I mean, they probably should have just committed to Hal Jordan at that time.
Nah, he was dead at that time.
He wasn't in the comic
series and all that.
But then, but I don't think Jon Stewart was also not Green Lantern at that time.
Nah, but obviously they picked Jon Stewart for obvious reasons. Not to knock on a character, because he did deserve to be there, and his attitude fitted more with that cartoon. Like he was the no nonsense guy.
Yeah, I like how you worded it. Obvious reasons. Yeah, okay, fine. We'll just skirt across all of that.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's like, that's why I was like, okay, cool. Because even when I saw that the first time...
what? I'll just say it out. Because you can read this in two ways. But he was there to add some colour to the team.
Yeah, he was.
Personality-wise and actually wise, you know?
Yeah. He was. And like it's sort of like I said before, like that version of him fitted the show as well. Because say they had that same version, but they put Hal Jordan in that place.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have worked as well.
Yeah. Because he's a bit more of a
showboat.
Yeah.
Doucher.
So, did you ever collect Green Lantern?
No, not till he became Carl Rayner.
Okay, so I did collect. I did have in my local library. They had graphic novels.
Yeah.
And they did do the first Hal Jordan mini. So in between volume 2 and 3 of Green Lantern.
Yeah.
They did Emerald Dawn, which was like a retcon rewrite of Hal Jordan's origin.
Yeah.
Which they gave him a bit more, rather than be the showboat Air Force pilot, test pilot, which he was, they kind of gave him a bit more backstory as well, which he was a bit more humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, they kind of humanized him. They're like, oh, he's the greatest Green Lantern in the world, blah, 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 because how do you like the right off, at the very beginning?
Yeah.
They gave him some, I think he got put there was a drunk driver accident and he ended up putting one of his passengers in the hospital.
Yeah.
Accident, and then basically he had to go to jail for 90 days afterwards. That's why Emerald Dawn 2 happens as well. But point is to say they gave him stuff in his backstory to give him a bit more
relatability.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But as we did, we started both collecting when he was Carl Reiner, who had much more.
He was more relatable to the everyman.
Yeah, exactly. How can you relate to the best of the best of the best? I always thought that Hal Jordan was a bit too much. They shined him up a bit too much.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. He deserved most of those accolades over the years of him being who he was. But
no. Here's the other thing, right? When you write a guy to be the best,
and
you give him more amazing feats, you're only doing it because then he has to be the one that overcomes him because he's the best. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the best.
Yeah.
So kind of, it just put them in their own little hole. They
write themselves into a hole where we need to kill this guy.
And if Sinestro was the best before Hal Jordan, how can Hal Jordan take down the best Green Lantern in his first couple of, in his first adventure or something like that? It's just like, so this guy's better than the best, and it just appeared like a month ago.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes no sense.
That's why I can kind of get behind Hal Jordan. It was a bit of a... until they gave him, I'd say, a bit more faults.
Yeah. Like, after he came back and stuff, I thought that's when they done Hal Jordan better.
When you say he came back, you don't mean came back as Parallax, you mean came back...
When he came back from the dead in, Rebirth. And
well, yeah. They did do better, but that's because Jeff Johns was writing it.
Yeah.
But I will say, like we were saying before, Hal Jordan went a bit so Coast City got destroyed.
Yep.
By Cyborg Superman. Hal Jordan went a bit nuts. He got into the Central Power Battery to try and change time. Destroyed all the Green Lanterns that were left around.
Yeah.
Which was a good story, actually. A very good story arc. Character transition, because it kind of made sense.
Yeah.
As people will disagree with it, but when you're having a mental breakdown as a character, you're like, my way or the highway, son.
Yeah. Especially saying you've put so many years into doing good, and then something really messed up happens to you, and people are like, maybe you should just let this go. You're not gonna because where's my turn?
Especially like him, when you have the power to do it, and when you can do it.
Yeah.
When you not be a hero for actually doing it.
Yeah.
So just to put it this way, like how we were saying about how Jordan defeated the best of the Green Lanterns with Sinestro during his first, rebellion.
Yeah.
Carl Reiner also had a fight with Hal Jordan that he won, but he didn't win an outright fight. It was more look, they're on the planet Oa, and Hal Jordan's just been beating up about all the other superheroes in 0 Hour. He's got an arrow lodged in him. Carl Reiner there, and he's like, okay, well, I'm clearly not going to survive this fight because this guy's just making a mockery of me.
Yeah.
Let me blow up the planet. All right, blow up a source of his power, but at the same time, So it's like, okay, and yeah, he survived by not luck, but just kind of ingenuity.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. And I was like, and then later on, Hal Jordan came back, beat him up again, and beat up like a version of the Justice League as well. And it's like, okay, well, at least you're keeping Hal Jordan there being the best, and Carl Reiner's the underdog. And it's just like, this was the Parallax View storyline, by the way. And it's just like, at the end of it, though, Hal Jordan realizes he can't go back, and he just kind of gives the ring to Carl Reiner.
Yeah.
And says, look, you take care of it. I've got
too much
to deal with. Like, I've got issues to deal with.
Yeah.
So like, okay, he kind of handed it off to the guy, realizing, he's not worthy of it anymore. Yeah. So I always thought that was a permanent change, just like when Wally West was the Flash. I thought, oh, Wally West was the Flash for a good 20 years. So you're like, at this point, this is basically permanent because Barry was completely gone.
Yeah.
Same with Hal. Like at that point, he's like, you would have thought he's just a character that makes appearances here and there.
Yeah, Spectre, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the Spectre as well. But they kind of when he transitioned into the Spectre, I was like, I'm not sure how permanent this is, but it's actually a good idea. Spirit of Redemption, for this particular character. But then they kind of brought him back, and then Carl Reiner got knocked down to the mid card, if even that.
Quick question.
Yeah.
This is when Green Arrow died just before this as well, wasn't it? Well, Oliver Queen Green Arrow.
Yeah. Around that time period, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever think Connor Hawke was going to be permanent? See, this is okay. We'll get into the entire DC bit of this as well. But did you ever think Connor Hawke was also going to be permanent Green Lantern?
Green Arrow.
Yeah,
I did. Because again, I slightly knew who Green Arrow was, but when I started like delving more into it around that time, it was Connor Hawke. Like, okay, cool, I'll buy it, I'll take it.
Well, to be fair, they legit blew up Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
Did you ever read the story behind? Did you know the story behind it?
But why they killed him, or
no? Why he decided got blown up?
No.
Like how he got blown up?
It's. Oh no, I don't. Not. I've seen it, but I can't remember it.
So somehow Superman, with all his abilities,
yeah,
couldn't rescue him.
Okay.
I think Superman had to go stop a bomb somewhere. Green Arrow's arm, Oliver Queen's arm, was caught in the plane.
That's
that was
it.
The bomb.
Yeah.
And don't know how long it'd take him to hack off his own arm, but he was just like, I'm not gonna hack off my own arm.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of a Green Arrow? Who can't shoot a bow and arrow?
A bowman with no arm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's kind of I don't want to say a cheap way to make him stay to
not escape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But fair enough. But he legit got blown up, so he's kind of like one of those things where you're like, okay, Superman saw him there get blown up. Oh, he's probably gone. Connor Hawke, here you are. I don't want to say, this is the DC's the new generation, but that's kind of where they were going, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, around this time was when like it was sort of like trying to usher in to revamp their brand, really, weren't they? Because he changed, like just then 3 sort of key characters have changed.
Yeah. But like myself, you didn't really collect Green Arrow, so you didn't kind of.
No, I just knew of the character, but I didn't really know that much about him.
Okay, when Superman died, and they had first of all, when Superman died, I never thought that was going to be permanent to begin with.
Yeah, no.
For some reason, even when I was a kid.
Yeah, same.
When they brought back the 4 fake Superman.
Yeah.
I mean, the return, that's the Return of Superman storyline. What did you think of that? Did you ever think, none of these are going to be like the real Superman? There's actually going to just be some storyline where he just comes back and takes the mantle at the end.
Yeah, because the reason why I thought that, because I remember this vividly.
Yeah.
For some reason, they spoke about on the news over here that Superman dying.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad is saying out loud, "That's not going to last." And I was like, okay,
No, strangely enough, some people did think it was going to last.
yeah.
Yeah, I never thought it was going to
No, I
last.
didn't. Just because of the one my dad says, like, that's not gonna last. And what do you mean? He's like,
Yeah.
not gonna kill. They're not gonna keep Superman dead because he's Superman. I was like, okay,
Yeah. They got
makes
money
sense.
to make from him, right?
Yeah. He's like, it's a publicity stunt. And I was like, okay, makes sense. And that's at like 7 years old. I found out what a publicity stunt was.
Your dad is teaching you about marketing strategies.
Yeah, like at that age, like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. What about Batman? The Jean-Paul Valley pusher we were going to get to.
Yeah, that was another one I sort of knew as well. Because the only reason why I knew about that, because I remember reading one of Nightfall comics, my dad bought it, and it was advertising the future Batman toy, which was John Paul's costume. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, yeah, he's Batman now. I was like, oh, okay, what happened to Bruce Wayne? Bat got broken. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then, like you said, was it less than like 6 months later, Bruce Wayne's Batman again? So I was like, oh,
okay. Here's the thing with that, right? Logically, you always think, oh, okay, why didn't you go to Nightwing first? But whatever, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne was only crippled.
Yeah.
So you're like, eventually he will come back because he's not dead.
Yeah. That's why I'm on. But okay, Superman. If I was to believe, okay, he might not come back because he's dead.
Yeah.
But Batman is crippled.
But here's the thing, right? So with Superman, even though he did die,
yeah.
Once they hit like Funeral for a Friend, they didn't leave the series long enough for him to be dead. They actually think he might permanently be replaced by one of these other characters. It's just like, okay, well, the next couple of months here, and then he's back, and it's just like, well, there's no time to let the dude rest for us to even have the suspense of expecting him to be permanently dead.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be back. We all know he'll be back. Yeah, it's just, lots of, like, at that time, being young as well, even to this day, actually, no, Marvel's kind of changed now. Like, when someone died in Marvel, sort of, they were dead for a while. Except for including like X-Men characters, they came back all the time. But no one really died in Marvel around that time, did they?
Sticking with Batman for a second, when you collected Batman, who was Robin?
Tim Drake.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember that when I was having collecting through Batman. I think so in my local bookstore, I remember reading the graphic novel "A Death in the Family."
Okay. Which
Jason Todd was Robin at that point, but at that point you don't know what's what. You just know that there's the Robin, right?
Yeah.
From media, you think it's Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's funny was in the bookstore, Mum was like, "Oh, do you want me to buy you one of these comics because you're reading it?" And I'm like, yeah. But I was having a flick through. Obviously, I don't want to see like a teenage kid get beat to death. So I was like, okay, buy this one. It was The Killing Joke. So I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I mean, when you're like 10 years old and you're reading that, you're like, yeah, I don't know which one was worse.
Yeah,
actually.
which is the more evil one out of the two.
Yeah.
Women getting paralyzed and possibly assaulted, or
and watching a man go through a mental breakdown, why he goes insane, or you want to see it like a clown beat a kid to death with a crowbar.
Yeah.
Because
it was Tim Drake. I remember that because even I questioned my dad's like, "Who's this guy?" He's like, "Oh, it's Tim Drake. He's the second Rob." Oh, it's his second Rob. I'm like, "Nah." He's the third. Like, okay, who? There's a one in between. And then my dad had the graphic novel of Death of a Family, so I sort of flipped. Yeah. He goes, "This is where he died," but he didn't let me read it, obviously, because a kid getting beaten to death with a crowbar.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. There's been 3 Robins. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's why Tim Drake will always be my Robin, because that's when I got into
to be fair, I mean, So. Here's the thing, right? When I first saw Nightwing, he stopped making appearances in Batman comics at the time.
Yeah.
I think my local supermarket was collecting the British versions of when they put the books together,
Yeah.
the monthly comics.
Yeah.
So he wasn't in it, but they had stickers of Nightwing. So it's like, okay, this guy looks like Robin, but is not Robin. Right. So I think there was some way that I knew that he was a Robin who graduated somehow.
Yeah.
But there's a mandate, by the way, that he fell in the Titans category.
Yeah.
Which is why the Bat Tiles couldn't use him at that time.
Yeah, that's why they changed him to Nightwing, isn't it? Or something like that. Something weird, yeah.
Yeah. So when he was Robin,
yeah,
and he could be in Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
They, in Titans and Batman.
Yeah.
They kind of transitioned him to Nightwing to keep him in the Titans section of DC. And I was like, right. But why wouldn't a Batman character be in a Batman comic?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think somehow the Bat editorial reclaimed Nightwing.
Would have
which
to, innit?
Which only makes sense. Why wouldn't like? I think it was around the time of A Lonely Place of Dying, where Tim Drake was coming Robin, where they kind of relaxed the whole thing.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you want it? Yeah. Why? I found it all kind of unusual as well.
Yeah, all that into politics stuff is weird.
Yeah, but how long Nightwing took to get its own title as well?
Yeah, wasn't that like... Because he became Nightwing, we'll say, like, 86, right?
Yeah.
Or just before that. We'll say between 84 and 86. And then Nightwing solo book didn't come out to, like, 91, wasn't it?
96? I think it was 96. Maybe you think of the limited series.
I could be. But yeah, so... Why
actually, Robin, no. I believe Robin got his first solo series before Nightwing.
Yeah. I only found out the other day. I was like, that's insane.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I never actually collected Batman at a time where Dick Grayson was Robin.
Yeah, neither did I.
And you think people collecting at that time, I mean, they make it obvious that he was Robin. But people nowadays, they probably won't get confused. They probably get mixed up, though, of how Jason Todd came back from, was dead for an extended period of time, and then he was alive again.
Yeah.
That's a story in itself.
That's quite messy.
But, yeah, I mean, retcons, they kind of are a bit crazy at times. The Supergirl Matrix saga, okay, here's the thing, did you ever collect Superman? I don't really collect it at the time.
No, I didn't really start collecting Superman until about 2009-ish.
But you know about, obviously, the Death of Superman, which we've covered before.
Yeah, I know about all the key things of Superman, but I didn't read.
So I always thought Lex Luthor, the redhead version, was actually his son at that time. Never thought that he transplanted, all the backstory of him transplanting the brain and stuff like that. When actual Lex Luthor came back into the comics, I just thought he must have. I filled in the gaps in my own head and was like, so at some point he died of the kryptonite ring thing.
Yeah.
And then his son took over the business to antagonize Superman. And then he came back somehow, murked his son, and just became Lex Luthor. Obviously, that was not the case, but it was like, how does how does it go back to having no hair and being Lex Luthor Senior? What happened to Lex Luthor Junior?
And that's the thing about it. I swear he never is mentioned after that ever again.
Yeah, because I think they did they retconned that it was always just Lex Luthor and never Junior. I don't think Lex Luthor Junior ever existed.
No,
because of how old he is. I don't know. One of the Crisis events just readjusted it all. Maybe Zero. No. Yeah, maybe 0 Hour.
Okay.
Maybe 0 Hour. They kind of just brushed that all aside.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. There was other weird things going on at that time. I was because like I started that time, then I stopped for a while, and then I started reading back again like 2004, 5ish.
Yeah.
And then again, I came back. I was like, I have no idea why these things are happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to say comics, but hey, it is comics.
Yeah,
but anything striking to you would say that comparatively to what we know now, the time you collected, or if someone was jumping on new, right, for example, and they went back to like collected some back issues and look at it, and they look at whatever's happening now and go, well, hold on a minute, this is very weird. Anything that pops into mind?
I'm trying to think. I like my personal opinion. People like don't go back. And I mean, because you're just, especially DC now. I'm like, don't go back because you're just gonna give yourself a headache, and then you'll become jaded before you've earned the experience to become jaded.
Well, I guess it might be depending on who you're collecting and what stories. Because if you're collecting Legion of Superheroes, then you're gonna need to know the Mon-El backstory and that stuff like that.
But then I don't know if that stuff counts anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's
true. It's true.
Like Marvel-wise, I'll say okay, go back, but miss out the period miss out the whole year of 1994 because that's just gonna hurt you. But like DC, I would just tell them not bother because of so many retcons and all that. Just don't.
Yeah, because... I mean, there's a lot of okay, here at least for DC though, they always have a crisis or some universal whatever to readjust what's going on.
Yeah.
What do you think about New 52, where essentially DC Universe only started like 5 years ago at that point, and you're like, wait, you got about 15 years of history, quote unquote, as to what was happening at that, because even when Zero started, and they basically said everything here, from this point, 1994, superheroes existed 10 years before this. And by the time I think they got to Infinite Crisis, it was another 5 years that happened, so it was a 15-year timeline.
Yeah.
Which had made sense with like how like Nightwing became Robin, and you can fit in that time period.
Yeah.
The Green Lantern's storylines, like how Jordan going crazy, coming back.
Yeah.
Al Rayner taking over as Torchbearer and stuff like that. You could fit all the other Green Lanterns in that time period as well.
Yeah.
But now it's only 5 years. It was like, wow, you kind of
5 years selectively depends on which character. That's when they sort of messed up themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if they just did the whole, all right, 15 years, all this has happened, it makes sense because then you wouldn't rush in certain things like, all right, you're condensing, like you said, condensing the Green Lantern mythology into a 5 years gap.
Yeah.
That makes so. And plus, all these people have been Green Lantern at some point.
Yeah.
It's like, that makes no sense. So, how Jordan killed everyone, and they were dead for like 2 months, and then they were all back. You know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah, exactly. I think if they readjusted to, like... I don't know how... okay, they had it as a 15-year time period, roughly, from that point, before New 52. Even if they said it was 10 years or 7 years...
Yeah.
Fine, kind of, you can fit certain things in there.
Yeah.
But when they changed 5 years, I was like, this is a bit too close to fit all these selective stories that you're wanting to fit in there.
Yeah. Selective stories that have huge implications as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, okay, right, and they said like, okay, Batman's been around for 10 years. Even that's muddy waters there. So in this 10 years
around, you know?
Yeah. So in these 10 years, he's already been crippled, had a child who didn't know about, and all this stuff. Yeah, he's had 3 wards. Yeah, it makes... Yeah, and also he's been dead twice or whatever. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as much as we joke about that, at least you could say universe, like rebirth and whatnot.
Yeah.
DC have cosmic reasons, right?
Yeah.
Marvel, I don't know what they do sometimes, but all I know is that the chance that they did have to readjust the Spider wedding if they didn't want it,
Yeah.
they just retconned him specifically by himself.
Yeah.
And right, it's like, okay, all the other characters accepted. It's like, no, but you only changed him.
Yeah.
You should have done something maybe universally.
Yeah.
And then you could have readjusted all the other characters as well. Even if you didn't want to do anything with them. Just make changes here or there. Just change up, like hide people's identities or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But just to solo change one person.
Yeah, it's kind of broken.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure lots of like their marriage affected lots of people's lives. So you just retconning that in his solo thing doesn't make sense, because I'm pretty sure, like, if we're gonna go like too into it, him having a relationship may have said to someone like Daredevil or someone, or Luke Cage, like, you know what?
Yeah.
I can see myself getting married because Peter can do it, then so can I. So I mean, so it sort of does impact lots of people's lives. So you can't retcon it just for him and it doesn't affect anyone else. It does.
Would you say did you ever did you collect Iron Man?
No. I cared not for mine, man.
No, do I. But there's been a good couple of times where the guy's revealed his secret identity to the world.
Yeah, and died, and been the younger version of himself. Yeah, just.
Yeah. So it's just like, initially, Iron Man was Tony Stark's bodyguard.
Yeah.
But then he unveiled himself as Iron Man, and then he used some giant satellite mind-erasing thing to wipe people's minds that he unveiled his identity. And then, do you know what the next thing he did was?
What?
Because I don't offhand remember. I mean, I know he revealed his identity again, but I don't know how he put that one back in the box.
I don't know, because if I remember, if this could be wrong, I don't think it was again till like the year 2000s-ish where he just was publicly known as Iron Man. I think when he became like, it was before Civil War, obviously.
Yeah.
And before he came, is it after or before? There's a point where he was Tony Stark, director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
So I can't actually remember, but yeah.
Yeah, I Iron Man's a bit murky. Well, yeah. I mean, because if you like just collect random back issues, you're like, right, but is his identity known or is it known? Is it gonna be like, did you collect Daredevil?
No.
Oh, you're missing out on some good stuff.
That's another one where when they not retconned, you know, after it was a couple of years ago when he got the black and white suit, when he's more than
the black and red suit, you mean?
That's it, yeah. When it's more of a ninja or whatever it's looking.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, no one after like that great run by Mark Waid and Chris Sommy.
You're talking about okay, right. Hold on. I was speaking further back than you were.
Oh yeah, I just thought about. Right, you say your bit then.
You're speaking of relatively recent,
yeah.
Right?
When
I'm talking about 1992, 1993 when he had the black and red suit.
Okay.
But I want to start going back before that.
Oh god. Yeah.
All right.
It's even more muddy, I'm guessing.
No, it's not muddy or anything like that. But there was a great storyline you should read. Frank Miller and David Michelinie. Daredevil Born Again is the storyline.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I know about it.
Where Kingpin finds out his identity and just wrecks his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then later on, when it like gets barred from law or whatever like that, right? So he kind of like has a vengeance thing going on where he can't practice law, but at the time he's going to get the Kingpin.
Okay.
Later on,
yeah,
he gets he gets back into the law, so he can do stuff. I can't remember how they readjusted all that, but then when it went gritty 992, 993 era, it was a Fall from Grace storyline where there was a genetically created virus that you could use if you had telekinesis to be able to readjust your genes to get rid of any faults. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird. Anyways, he forgoed his identity at that point.
Yeah.
And became Jack Battling in honor of his dad, battling Jack Murdoch.
Yeah.
Then that's where the red and black suit was happening. But then he had the mental breakdown.
Yeah, as you do.
A couple of maybe a couple of years later, right?
Yeah.
Where he was wearing the original yellow and red suit.
Yeah.
Chasing after himself, who was wearing the black and red suit. Something like this going on there. It kind of makes sense in the context, right?
Yeah.
And then, he somehow decided to get back his normal identity of Matt Murdock. It was like, oh man, that's gonna be something. And then later, years later, when close to the era we're talking about 2014 or something like that, around that time.
Yeah.
His identity got revealed.
Yeah.
To the world again.
Yep.
Oh yeah, his identity got revealed to the world back in the Fall from Grace storyline, 992-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he made the false identity. But then he got revealed again. Then that was a really good storyline, by the way. That was the Bendis / Brubaker run.
Yeah.
And now his identity has been wrapped up by the Purple Children.
Yeah, which I thought was cool how I did that.
Yeah, and Kingpin no longer remembers who he is as well. So, yeah, when you go back to the history of Daredevil, man,
but
quite something.
At least it's sort of self-explained, and it doesn't really affect other people, because Daredevil's sort of like kept to himself sort of thing. It doesn't really marry anyone else's storylines, but
because he's we'll call it a street-based hero.
Yeah, but when you got something like someone like Spider-Man, you retcon certain things for him because he's a hero of everyone. He's impacted like so many different characters.
Yeah,
that's when it gets a bit like you should address that in other books as well.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I'm just saying the wackiness though. If you started collecting Daredevil now, I think it's more in line with the TV, the Netflix series. I think that's why they started. So when Mark Waid did his run, and he made it like a brighter, swashbuckling superhero adventure. It was not in line with the ninja-based. I want to say gloomy or dark, but that kind of gritty vibe that the
TV show was going to go for.
Was given. So I think they kind of they adjusted to be more in line with that.
Yeah, which Marvel loved to do.
Yeah. Did you ever get? Speaking of Netflix series, did you ever get The Punisher?
I've read bits and pieces of Punisher, but it's like more newish stuff, like when Greg Rucka was writing it.
Let me hit you with one word.
Yeah.
Frankencastle.
Yeah, I read that.
Okay.
Well, I read how he became Frankencastle, and I was like, I'm out. I didn't read it after that.
All right, yeah. Give me the lowdown, but just in a second, right? The basics of Frank Castle, the Punisher.
Yep.
He got killed, right?
Yep.
Okay, give me the lowdown, Frank Castle. Or was that the first one? That's the first one, because then after Frank Castle, does he become the Angel of Death Punisher? No,
that's before. Angel of Death Punisher was like years before that.
Go in order. Give me in order.
All right. I think because I didn't really read Angel of Death, but I sort of know what happens. He dies, and then he goes to.
Oh yeah, how did he die? How did he die? You're skipping over.
I can't remember how he died.
Oh, okay.
I want to say I don't think he died in battle. I think it was something like really like trivial, like I want to say cancer or something. It's something weird.
Okay.
And then he goes to heaven, and God's like, "You can't come to heaven because you've killed so many people." But
okay. Yep.
I will, if you become my angel of death sort of thing, I
Wait,
may overlook it.
Actual God or just what he thought was God?
What he thought was God.
Okay.
So he came back and had like supernatural powers and was fighting demons and all this weirdness. And then, if I remember correctly, how they got rid of all this, it was like all a dream.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's even a weird bit where he also dies and comes back as a black man.
As a what?
Yeah, as a black guy.
Oh, no. Are you mixing up with a storyline? Because what year was this?
I don't know. This is like the 90s, if I remember correctly.
There was a storyline that he got beat up so badly, he went to a surgeon or something like that. That's it,
yeah.
Okay. So he woke up black for some reason, right?
Yeah.
But I think the surgeon was like, look, where you are, like the people know who you are, like the people after you. I'm gonna have to do something to make them not. You can't look like the Punisher. You're gonna die if you do. And then decided to make him look like a black man.
Yeah. Which you can't do nowadays, even though you shouldn't have done it then because it makes no sense.
Wait, yeah. He teamed up with Luke Cage there as well.
Yeah.
But whatever, man. Yeah.
So he becomes Angel.
So that storyline happened when he just after the Angel of Death storyline.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not as far back as you would think it is. But so it becomes Angel of Death. They retcon that pretends it never happened. And then
they just literally said, okay, you know what, that never happened.
Yeah, they've sort of like soft rebooted Punisher so many times. It makes no sense. And then during the Dark Reign storyline, Punisher gets a hold of Norman Osborn's plans to kill the on the run Avengers, and Osborn's like, okay, Daken, you need to go and kill Frank Castle because he's gonna reveal all our plans. So Daken, as he was Dark Wolverine, chases Frank around all of New York. Then they end up having a fight at top of a building while it's raining, and Daken basically cuts him into little pieces and then throws him off the top of the building.
Okay.
And then all his body parts get swept away in the rain into the sewers. And this mad scientist...
Wait. Does this happen in a Punisher book or an Avengers book?
This happens in a Avengers / Punisher book. Because there's like titles...
A miniseries?
Yeah. This is in the Marvel Universe. This is canon.
Yeah, no. I was like, whose book does this fall under? It sounds a bit crazy.
Yeah, it was Dark Reign Punisher. Because there's lots of like Dark Reign, whatever, like Ronin. Yeah. So so everyone's like, oh cool, Punisher's dead. No, some mad scientist finds his parts, and thanks to not the Mole Men, is it the Mormoloids? Anyway, the
Mole Man's people.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They bring him back to life as Frankencastle.
And they just basically sew his own body parts back together.
Yeah, with like other body parts they found of other people.
Right. Yeah.
And then this went on for a while where he's fighting supernatural stuff and again weird things. Yeah. And I can't actually remember how he becomes back to being normal Frank Castle.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets a new... I don't remember. It's something really weird. Like, they're never going to address this ever again. And they haven't since.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. As you do. Because...
As you do.
I mean, like... that. Okay, I think people like to pretend that stuff never did happen.
Yeah.
No, I say people in general, but just like... I don't think there's many fans of that storyline, strangely.
No.
But you're saying, so the Greg Rucka, when you started collecting the Punisher, what you're saying, the Greg Rucka run?
Yeah.
Is this the Dead Man Tell No Tales run?
I don't remember.
Is this with the short-haired redhead lady?
No, it's it's really weird because like this is again where they tried to like make him sort of more part of the Marvel universe because you know he's technically outside of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
No one really. So he was fighting like drug cartels and like people trying to make secret super soldiers.
Yeah.
It was really good, and like he had a sidekick dog, well, a coyote that he found, and he nursed the health. It was a really good story, but this it ended because this was when Secret Wars was happening. So, in a blaze of glory, Frank Castle went out fighting this terrorist group.
Okay.
While the world was ending, he's like, if I die, doesn't matter because the world's ending, but I'm going to take down these people with me. So he has this big fight with Marvel's version of Al-Qaeda, and he gets shot and everything, but he kills them all, and he's like, oh, at least I've done the world good. And it's sort of, when as he's dying, the world fades to white.
Yeah.
Because of, that's when the incursion happens and kills the Earth. I was like, oh, that's pretty...
So, so Rachel Cole Alvarez was the character I'm talking about. Essentially, what the female Punisher that teamed up with Punisher.
Oh yeah, no, that wasn't there. No.
I mean, I didn't collect that storyline, but I wish I kind of did. The art looked really good, and it seemed like she was getting to the point where she was going to be like him.
Yeah.
But he didn't want her to get to that. He was looking out for her, basically saying, "You can't get as far as I do because there's no turning back whatsoever." It's like a Punisher is trying to stop another Punisher from happening. And I was like, oh, that's quite a good idea.
Wait, how long ago did you read that? Because it sounds slightly familiar.
That storyline, I think, was 2012.
Then it could have been the same one I was reading then.
I never read it. You know what? When there's stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
Like.
Hi guys. So I had to cut this episode into 2 because we ran over a lot. But hope you all stick around for the next episode. It should be coming out very soon. And as usual, if you found any of this interesting, let us know when you started collecting comics, what was going on around then, and if it's changed between now and then, because comics sort of repeat and circle. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or send us a message for our email, or on our multiple social media platforms like Instagram and Twitter. And thank you all for taking a trip around the multiverse with us. I'm Kyle Charles, and CY is not here, but you know what I mean. And have a nice day. Bye.